And I'm just popping on the recording. I'll do the
I
quick
can't
intro.
even work out where the settings are
While you
in
wrangle,
this app. Like,
if only we had an ops guy.
I know. Try the settings on your computer.
yeah, I tried that. I'm going to go out and come back, but just keep going.
All right. So I'm going to launch into it, folks. This is the weekly Web3 Weekly Digest, which we'll be shortly renaming the Web3x3. I'm Mark Angelos. My background is sales and finance. I'm joined by the content marketing queen, Michelle Peterson Clark, and of course, Mike Neubauer, your ops guy, Mike Neubauer.
How's it going?
So, story number one. Crypto stocks teeter near the abyss. This is an article out of the Yahoo Finance section. Cryptocurrency firms' declines have wiped out roughly $52 billion of shareholder value in 2022. So the article goes on to talk about questions around crypto's future. It's a year in which many tokens have lost up to 70% of their value. What do we think about this, folks? Michelle, we'll start with you.
Well, I mean, I think it's a bit of a theme, isn't it, from the last few weeks since the FTX debacle, and us saying that we haven't reached the bottom yet, and there's going to be some more dominoes falling. And I think this is, some of the fortune-telling phase that's going on currently, where people will go, it's this one, it's this one, it's this one, it's this one, no, it's this one. And then, a couple of them will fall. So some of them will be geniuses and some people won't. No one will remember the ones that didn't. So it's a good marketing strategy, I guess.
I like the fortune-telling phase. Mike, what do you think?
I think Michelle's correct. It is a domino effect of snowball and avalanche, whatever you want to call it. But it all does kind of like fall on the coattails of whatever happened with FTX, because that's clearly the big elephant in the room. I do, however, feel that a big bulk of this article and the discussion points around it involve really where the economy sits on a global stage, right? I mean, like, let's not forget, crypto is still some sort of it's still somewhat new where it can't be used as a direct source of exchange. In some cases it can, but in most cases it can't. So in rough economic times, when people need to be a little bit more liquid, traditionally, I guess they pull their funds out of, traditional investments, whether it be crypto or stocks or anything like that. So I think that has a big component to do with it as well. I don't think it's a definition of the technology, nor do I think it's a red flag about the overall industry. I think it's just a cyclical moment in its existence.
I think you make a good point there, Mike, about the speculation is definitely dead. When people need cash on hand, that they're no longer putting money at risk just to see if it'll go somewhere.
Yep.
That's an interesting point. I also think it's kind of sounding the death knell on crypto is a little bit premature, right? Just because there's a scam in the system, and it doesn't matter what system, I wouldn't sign the death warrant on crypto. Welcome, Joseph Stone. Thanks for joining us, my man. All right, crypto.com. Launching World Cup NFTs with Coca-Cola. In my opinion, we've seen this before, but basically it's taking these historical matches in the World Cup soccer/football world, capturing on blockchain to create new forms of memorabilia. Mike, this seems more your world than anyone's right now. What do you think about this?
I think they're about 6 months too late.
Yeah.
That's what I
was thinking, hang on, they're half a tournament too late.
But like half a tournament, the next tournament's in 4 years, man. What the hell are you doing?
No, I know. I was thinking to myself, well, great, except no one's going to be excited in 2 weeks' time for the next 4 years.
So
sorry, I think interrupted.
No, like we're on the same wavelength with this, and full disclosure, we did not talk about this before, so this is all organic agreement.
Yes, that's right.
I really think that they're onto something. I really think that if they did this 6 months ago, it would definitely have more legs to it. But I also feel that this is just another prime example of a company with very deep pockets and an existing audience where they're just trying to capitalize on this buzzword. I don't think that there's truly understanding of what utilities and benefits could arise from that. For example, a game, right? Why not have a game where you can have these NFTs be players, and those players can formulate your own country of whatever you call it, and the winner of that league perhaps gets tickets to the next World Cup. I don't think the marketing mindset is in that place. I think that they're just trying to take advantage of the buzzword, jump on the technology, maybe give it a test on it. I'd say that there's a very high percentage that the project will fail and therefore become another, I don't want to say stain, but definitely a something that they don't want to consider moving forward in different capacities because of the experience that they're going to have with this one. Whoever's in charge of their marketing on this one should definitely have a lot of explaining to do on why the hell they're doing this now. But
so crypto.com, you would think, would be well versed in what goes on in the crypto world.
They're
But
very.
the thing is, you know, I think that, you know, the marketing department at Coca-Cola sat down one day a month ago and went, oh, what's coming up that we could do? Oh, hang on, the World Cup. Maybe we could do something around the World Cup. Yeah. And then this is the result. This wasn't thought about, as you said. Like, you know, when it was booming in December, January, February this year, if they'd said leading into the World Cup, you know, every 2 weeks we're giving away 2 of this, but you can be in the draw for these and that. Like, I don't know, maybe I should let Coca-Cola know I'm available.
So for those joining, Davey, thanks for joining us. We're talking about crypto.com working with Coca-Cola to issue NFTs around the World Cup memorabilia. And basically, I think we've all seen that this is really still a money grab. NFTs are still being used as a marketing channel for quick cash, which is a very different usage than building community, long-term value, utility, etc. I think that for the big companies, we will continue to see the short-term activities like this.
We will, until one breaks through, and then they're going to replicate that model over and over and over again, and then we're going to see where it ultimately lands. But I think that the audience and the targeted people that they can maneuver in this space right now are not going to be fooled by these types of projects. And I think that we've trained ourselves, at least in the weeds right now, to, you know, sit there and say, you know what, like, this is not a sustainable NFT project. This is not a sustainable community that I want to invest in. This is just me saying that, hey, I'm a part of Coca-Cola, but, you know, there's a million ways I can get involved with Coca-Cola. I just, you know, an NFT might not be the reason to do that.
I think that I like the fact that they're looking at the heat maps of how players are moving during the games and all of that. That would have been great, except 2 months ago, you could have hyped up what player are you going to get and how much are they going to do during the World Cup. You know, like it just smacks of also ran kind of stuff.
And this touches on a thing that we've discussed here. And again, I quote John Briggs on this one, but it's really what an NFT could be, right? I think they're really in the mindset of this is what an NFT is, right? Like you said it earlier, Mark, that, you know, they're here to cement moments in time in World Cup history. Well, that's the purpose of what they think that NFT is, but they don't realize what it could be yet. And until that happens, then we're never going to unlock the true potential with the associated audience and budget to push it forward.
So I'm going to draw
what I didn't see was, you know, the top player or the top NFT wins a year's free Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I'm going to draw a comparison here, and for the Americans among us, Michelle, a big sporting event in our national history was the 1980 Olympics hockey team defeating the Soviet Union, right? Lake Placid. The Miracle on Ice thing, and when Mike Eruzione, team captain, scores that winning goal, Mike, you'll remember this. It wasn't Coca-Cola making money from that, right? If that gets memorialized as a sports memorabilia thing, whatever that may be, the picture or, you know, his glove, or whatever they want to make the memorabilia, that wasn't about a quick, immediate sale for a corporate entity. And that's where we're still in that, steeped in the short term right now. I think that the NFTs, Mike, you're right. And John Briggs is right. This has got huge potential future, but we're not there yet.
No, we're not. And the sports memorabilia market is so unique, right? I mean, because it's not like, okay, so my dad used to work for the New York Rangers, and he used to go to Ranger game.
I'm sorry to hear that, Mike. It's okay. We all make mistakes in our life.
I forgot you're a Devils fan. He sold a box of ticket stubs for like 10 grand of old games he went to. And I was sitting there trying to understand, like, you can't obviously use that again, but it's a sports memorabilia piece, right? And if you look at those, each one of those has a story behind it. And if you think about like the Miracle on Ice or anything that happens in the respective World Cups, each one of those has a generative or like a generational type story that goes behind the actual memorabilia. And that's what continuously adds that value to it. If you sour that with something like an NFT just to make a quick buck on, doing it because you think you have to, because that's the hot item of the day, I think it loses a lot of its luster on that. And I think that if that's their attitude going into this, it will be a failure for sure.
I'm going to bring Davey up if that's okay with you guys. He wanted to add a quick comment. Davey, if you want to raise your hand, I'll pull you on stage here. And to quote Davey real fast, he says here, I feel the hype and the trend is being followed. So let's get some commentary out of you, Davey. I do agree with everything you said, Mike. And Davey, thanks for joining us here at the weekly Web3 Digest, Web3x3. Please feel free to add some comments.
Yeah, what's good? What's going on? Okay, I'm actually a Twitter person, so I just came on to Andre and I came across your page. That's how to join in. So the topic you're speaking on, it's actually quite interesting, and I've been in this space for a long time, and I just know one thing for sure is people actually have to follow the trend. Like, you have to use the trend to sell out, if not, you stock out one position. It's all part of the marketing strategy, if you ask me. So,
what type of marketing strategy? Long-term, short-term?
It's most likely going to be short-term, except you want to change with the trend every time, which be very tiring for the type of projects or the type of publicity they have.
Agreed. So I'll comment real fast, Davey, on your point. We're going to be bringing this show to Twitter, so thank you for taking the gander over towards Entra. But I do agree with you that this is the trend. We are all of the mind, and I don't want to speak for us, Mike. I'll let you comment on this in a second, that this is short-term plays by big companies that don't understand what NFTs could be.
Here's my comment. Davey, you bring up such a great point. Let me just comment on that real quick. It is a short-term mindset for a marketing strategy, but the technology is built for the long term, right? You can't just erase a commercial because you don't want it there anymore. You can't erase an NFT collection because you don't think it's there. And this is there forever, right? Like, the owners of that hold it. You will not get that back unless you buy it back or they transfer it back. You got to figure out different strategies on how you can engage with the community to make sure that there's a worthwhile value proposition for their investment. That is the longer term picture that I don't think they're recognizing right now.
We're talking World Cup NFTs for those who are joining us. Sean, nice to see you. Always a pleasure to have you on board, my friend. I agree with everything you're saying, Mike. Davey, you raised a good point about the trend. I'm going to run us through the rest of the news. If that's okay, Davey, I'm going to put you back to the audience and we'll bring you back on if you'd like, if that's cool with you. But I do want to say thank you for taking the time to join us. We're going to rip through a couple of news items. We're going to try to thread this into something coherent for trends, and then we're going to have the Q&A, if that's okay with you.
Okay, no issues. I'm actually about to leave, so
Perfect.
I'll just listen again since it's recorded.
Yeah, we'll post it up. Don't worry. Thank you for your question, though, and thank you for your comment. We appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Davey.
All right, so item number 3, the best business development in Web3. This is an article from CoinDesk. This year, many consumer-focused brands have chosen to partner with Polygon Studios to create the Web3 experience. Polygon has so far landed partnerships this year alone with almost every major Web3 space brand entering the space: Nike, Starbucks, Reddit, Meta, Robinhood, some of the examples. So it looks like Polygon has been the go-to for these large companies that are looking to get into a Web3 experience for their people. Thoughts around this? Mike, we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, Polygon is a layer 2 off of the Ethereum blockchain, right? So right away, there's a barrier to entry to get into the Polygon network by bridging your Matic, so that you do have the ability to make transactions. So as long as that onboarding element is, accounted for, it's a great blockchain to be on. It's very inexpensive transactions. There's really no value in the secondary market with Polygon NFTs, but that could change over time. And obviously, it's dependent on the structure and the infrastructure of Ethereum, which is a pretty solid infrastructure to rely upon. I think that if more and more of these brands kind of like introduce themselves and get their feet wet in the space using something that doesn't have crazy transaction or gas fees like Ethereum mainnet does, There will be technology solutions that follow that assist with the onboarding process. Polygon is it's a very, very, very widely used and sought after platform due to the exchange of NFTs and coins and tokens and, you know, all of these various elements because of the ability to do it with ease and having it be inexpensive. But the bridging of the Matic, there's a big barrier that has to get taken care of first. And I think the tech solutions can easily follow suit if these big boys keep coming in here.
Michelle, what do you think?
So I think one of the things I found really interesting in this article was the number of new wallets created on Polygon compared to Ethereum, even after the merge. So it says that Polygon added 24 million wallet addresses compared to 8 million addresses for Ethereum. Now, I know lots of people have Ethereum anyway. I think we've mentioned before that Microsoft have also said that they're going to partner with Polygon for anything they're doing going forward. And I think that it's not surprising that other brands and other people are jumping on the Polygon wagon because of that. Because I think if Microsoft are going to start bringing out dApps or, you know, games or platforms that integrate with Polygon, then other big brands will want to piggyback or hook onto that. And this is kind of some of them testing their feet, I think.
I mean, it's playing with the Ethereum smart contracts without the costs, right? I think that's really the primary benefit of being on Polygon. And if these guys are going to take risks, if they're going to claim that they're in the space now, why not minimize that risk with, you know, a very inexpensive platform to launch on?
So, Mike, that was going to be my question as the village idiot here. I think that why are all these big boys going to, because ETH is well established, but if they're going to Matic, there's a reason. It's the cost. Is that what you're saying?
Well, again, it's really about the primary purpose of the project. If you're trying to create an NFT collection that has a secondary marketplace value, Polygon is not the platform to be on. But if you want to create like a loyalty reward program, or you want to create some sort of a membership, or you want to create a system where users would be able to bounce back and forth different tokens and exchange those tokens for whatever, Polygon is the place to be because of the ability to, you know, transact those tokens inside and out. Now, the contracts are the same as the Ethereum network, right? It's the same blockchain. It's just the best way I can describe Polygon between Ethereum and Polygon is if Ethereum is a highway, an invisible highway in the sky, Polygon is the service road, right? So it's still very dependent on Ethereum, but it could act as its own independent highway or road with its own speed limits and its own rules and its own regulations. But without the highway, the service road doesn't exist.
Interesting. So yeah, as long as ETH keeps blazing the trail, Polygon will tag along and do a cheaper version.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same
So,
smart
Mike,
contracts.
Can I ask you a question then? So if someone comes up with another layer one blockchain that is cheaper than Ethereum, I don't know if that's possible. What do you think that means?
I mean,
for all the layer two ones,
they pop up all the time. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
Solana, for example, Solana is an example of a, you know, I think Solana still holds the title of the fastest blockchain. Now that has its own independent problems. Solana goes down very frequently, which creates a whole heap of havoc across the Web3 space. But these things happen all the time. I mean, look, you know, as we start developing more of the business infrastructure around Web3 and blockchain technologies, we're going to see in-house blockchains built by these various corporations. Not every blockchain needs to be public, right? There's private blockchains as well. And, you know, if you can create an ecosystem and a logistic supply chain system with you and your vendors using blockchain technology, this is the start of where it could all build up from the inside out. And then you can leverage some of these mainnet type blockchains in order to engage with your customers, or, you know, somehow use that blockchain to navigate and migrate them into your blockchain. But yeah, look, there's always going to be a competitor and a threat to the Ethereum mainnet. Ethereum has really paved the way and solidified their understanding of where this space is heading. You know, obviously the way that the infrastructure is built at Ethereum and their ability to keep building. We saw this with the merge. We saw this with the different elements that they've also added onto it. They are in a process of constantly trying to improve the technology. And I think from a developer standpoint, from a user standpoint, you want to see that fluidity. You wanted to see that dynamic element and the evolution of the technology and the infrastructure associated with it. And that's where the layers come in, right? The layer 2s offer something from the layer 1, but in a different capacity. I think Optimism is another layer of Ethereum. Polygon, you have a few of them off of them, and they all offer something very unique and different. And we've brought it up on this show many times. I think that these layer 2s and even some of these layer 1s, they're going to start to I guess navigate themselves into more of an industry specific route. Right, we're going to see specific industries that are going to be dedicated to Polygon, specific industry. And from a consumer perspective, it takes all the noise and it focuses it on where you really want to be and invest your money into.
Yeah,
and it's just going to be a matter of time, and regulations are going to have to happen with that too. I mean, we've talked a lot about that.
Just to keep us
and if
honest.
You're into,
go ahead.
Sorry, go on.
No, please.
If you're into
Michelle.
sports, we've talked about you might have this particular blockchain, or if you're into entertainment, whatever. As a segue back to the previous article on crypto.com and the Coca-Cola, I think it says in that, if I'm reading that correctly, that crypto.com have got their own blockchain that's hosting that.
Yeah, that's what I read too. To keep us honest, Mike, it is the fastest blockchain, Solana. However, there's now a place, BitGert, I don't know these guys, claim to have 100,000 transactions per second, which would make it the fastest. But Solana is the only real, proven established chain. So yes, you're right though. We're going to keep seeing these advancements, and this will eventually become real time, which will be fascinating. All right, moving us on to article number 4. Platform Transact with a K integrates with the Coinbase wallet. Now, I'm not here to pimp anyone's products, but this is interesting for one reason. Transact is a Web3 infrastructure company that says it will now be a fiat on-ramp for crypto buying into a Coinbase wallet. This is a self-custody wallet that gives you complete control of your crypto. Self-hosted wallets are on the rise as people become aware of the importance of safekeeping their assets. I wonder why. Thoughts on this, Michelle?
Look, it's not the first. I don't think it'll be the last. I'd never heard of them until reading this article. So I guess that says something. Other than Coinbase, Transact.
So Transact, to be clear,
it's more of a technical thing than me.
It's really Southeast Asia that they're serving. It was Thailand and the Philippines, if I remember right. But I just think that's interesting because people are realizing, oh boy, number one, Mike, you talk about on-ramps for crypto, fiat on-ramps all the time. And 2, time to start keeping your eyes on your keys.
Well, the three of us collectively, dating back to May of last year or this year, I don't even know what year it is anymore, in Phoenix, it was abundantly clear seeing so many great people in one place still having a problem in the onboarding process, right? Like there's still a very big barrier to entry, and anybody who's got involved in a project, anything Web3 related, even having a conversation with people who have no idea what they're doing. That was one of the real key attributes that we wanted to focus on in the Unfantasy Football League project, is to really have an opportunity for people who have no clue what they're doing in Web3 and give them that on-ramp, give them that ladder, that escalator that helps them get from where they are into a position where they can start maneuvering within the space pretty comfortably. Obviously, there's risk involved, and we can talk about that and the security implications another time, but we wanted to be able to guide them, handhold them, show them the different things to do, to look out for. And Coinbase has always been really good at that. It's just that there's an extensive period of time that most people are just not willing to wait for on that. So again, and we discussed it in May, as this continues to evolve, at whatever speed it's at, whether it's lightning speed from March or snail speed right now, right? In Coca-Cola's case with the World Cup, backwards speed. I think we're going to continuously see evolutions that ease the onboarding process, and that only assists and inerts to the industry's benefit.
So, Mike, when you and I first were chatting about things back in the day, at the very origin of our friendship, it was about how to get Web 2 and Web 3 integrated, right? What's the bridge between the two? And this ties closely into what you said. The difficulty of onboarding into Web 3 is universal right now. And so when big companies like Coinbase are starting to try to solve for this, that's how things get rolling. Michelle, I agree with you. I don't really know Transact either. I don't think anybody does. But this part of the world, it's not popular. The point is, it's a problem that's now getting attention of these providers, both at the vendor level and at the big boy level.
And certainly they know that collectively, they, being the world of business, finance, whatever, that unless they make the process easier, it isn't going to take off and it isn't going to get mass adoption. And for it to be successful and for the next lot of fortunes to be made, like out of the dot-com boom, now that we've had this FTX thing and whatever else happens in the next 6 to 12 months, and then when we turn out of it and come up again, those companies that can work this out will be the ones that will benefit the most.
I'm stealing from someone's LinkedIn yesterday. I don't remember where I read this comment, but I read the sentence that Web3 onboarding will take off and accelerate when users don't realize it's Web3.
Yeah,
that sounds like something you would say, Mike. It's got to be a user experience.
We talk about the dot-com boom a lot here, but I think that another more recent example of this onboarding process and really having the ease of technology where you have the app and it makes you waffles, right? I use that stupid analogy all the time, but social media is a perfect example of that. I mean, I'm old enough to remember life before social media, and then when social media got introduced, and then all of a sudden when everybody had a phone in their pocket, a smartphone to be specific, that took social media to the next level. I mean, before the smartphone boom and when everybody was, it became pretty much a standard to have a smartphone now. Before that element, when you still had the game of Snake and, the very little digital, you had to hit the 2 key 3 times to write a C. Before that moment, you used to have to go on a desktop at home, type in whatever you wanted to do in social media and then leave. Like, hey guys, I'm going to the mall, see you later, and then leave. And then when you come back, you get to see all the comments, all the likes, whoever interacted with it. Now you can do it on the fly. And I think that ease of technology onboarded way more people very fast. And it created this little, I guess, monster of what we call Meta, Google, Twitter, these crazy, ridiculously large, centralized companies. And I think that this definitely has the primes for history to repeat itself. I just hope that the technology is enough decentralized that we won't be, I don't want to say fooled again, but we won't be products of those companies again.
Like, I don't want to date you here, but you did say about going to the mall. Sorry, just that's not a concept that kids today would know what that is.
No, they don't.
I'll tell you how old I am. I can remember before every house had a telephone.
Oh boy.
I had the roll. I'm old enough for the dial.
All right.
Like that, but
I'm moving us on to number 5. This is interesting for one reason and one reason only. It's got to do with the three of us, but introduce a consensus magazine, putting Web3 in perspective. I like that slogan, by the way, folks. We may be stealing that. As of today, CoinDesk's digital magazine, formerly known as Layer 2, will be renamed Consensus Magazine. So this is a CoinDesk article about themselves. The point is, in my opinion, it's now becoming mainstream. What do you guys think?
I think it's a promotional piece.
Michelle?
Yes. Does it say this is a paid advertisement on the top of it?
No, but think about it. Layer
does.
2 is what it used to be called. Mike, you could speak to this. No, half the people in real life don't know what Layer 2 means.
I mean, they don't understand a lot of the terminology that we speak here, right? I mean, there's a whole new vocabulary that comes into play. But I mean, look, Mark, you're a finance guy. You're a Wall Street guy. There's a lot of big, scary words that you guys use all the time, too, that scare the hell out of people. But at the end of the day, you can explain it in a sentence. Yeah, like anything, like any of these crazy things, but I think that when you boil it all down, it's just nothing new. It's just a redefinition of something that people are already used to using a new technology. And I think once we clear the dust storm of that, people are going to understand a little bit more that this is something that they want to be in, and they're going to understand it more.
I remember
think too.
Go ahead, Michelle. No, please.
I think too that, when they came up with their clever Layer 2 name for their magazine, where they were going, oh, we are so smart, nobody knew what it was. It wouldn't have had as big an impact. Now people go, oh, Consensus have a magazine, I'm going to read that. Sometimes we can be clever by half.
And that's because the consensus is a play on words, right? It's got a non-crypto connotation, and that's what they're going after.
Well, this isn't the first thing we've seen about that, right? Like NFTs for a while were not classified as NFTs or fungible tokens or, these scary words or phrases that you hear about on the 6 o'clock news or whatever, like they were calling them digital collectibles. Now, which one sounds a little bit more fluffy and more interesting to be a part of?
Well, it's not it's not even in the old days. Reddit's NFTs are called digital collectibles. They have not called them NFTs, and they've launched them in the last 2 months.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting that early on, Gary Vaynerchuk steered clear of the NFT term, right? VFriends is never called an NFT. It is, but he doesn't call it that.
No.
Well, I mean, just, and this goes for everybody, right? Just, in some sort of a challenge, I suppose. Anytime you spark a conversation with somebody for the first time, whether it be an Uber driver, a cab driver, somebody on a plane, whatever, what do you do for a living? I do some work in the Web3 space. See their first reaction. If they have no idea what an NFT is, I mean, the first thing they say is, I'm very leery on this whole crypto thing. Like, they think that one goes with the other automatically. Now, in some capacity, there are crossovers, but they could easily be handled independently and thought of independently for different business purposes. And I think that once you kind of clear the dust and understand the actual definitions and the way the technology is developed, I think people's perspective on this thing is going to change a little bit.
So go ahead, Michelle, tell me.
I was going to say, the other thing I thought interesting about the article is not only did they knock SBF down, but they really sunk the boot into him, because sort of like being smart, I thought it was a bit cheap.
He's going to be a scapegoat for a while.
I'm gonna throw this out there, Sean. I know sometimes you like to have comments. If you want to join, you're more than welcome to. You just throw your hand up. We'll pull you on stage. We're trying to keep this a little tighter in terms of the amount of time we spend on the news to leave time for some interactions. So feel free. I will say this as an add on that last piece. I think it was Joe Polizzi who said that eventually NFTs won't be called NFTs. And I agree with that. I think that we're starting to be, the beginnings of that are starting now, where you have a layer 2 magazine and anyone in that space would know what layer 2 means, to now it's not layer 2 magazine because it's not really meant for folks in the space anymore. Because the space is, look at what we're doing here. This is not something, we're not gearing it for just the crypto heads, right? And that's speaks to the larger need.
They have to broaden the base, or they're going to run out of people to talk to.
But at the same time, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, like, you can't just completely change the definition and hope for it to be a different thing that you're trying to describe, right? I mean, we saw this happen with websites. We saw this happen from advertisements to commercials. Like, they, the acceptable terminology on some of these things change all the time. But I think a true understanding of what the actual infrastructure looks like opens the door to a lot more potential. And call it whatever you want after that.
But I think what we're really boiling it down to, if you had to pick a word, this is my opinion, it's experience, right? This is about delivering an experience to your customer or prospective customers. And that's, NFTs may or may not be called whatever they are, but their functional purpose remains. So if it's sports memorabilia, it's still an experience, right? Mm-hmm. If it's a ticket to an event, at the end of the day, you can call it what you like. I agree with you, Mike, but I think that it doesn't get called an NFT because people don't know what that means.
Well, it's a scary word, man. I mean, like, that's the bottom line. Again, like, I challenge anybody, just spark a conversation with somebody that you haven't sparked one with and just bring it up and see their initial reactions. They know about it based on whatever they've heard or whatever they've been told, if they're not in the space, right? If they have no idea what Web3 is and really the nuances of the technology, they're just basically going off of headlines that they read. And with that perspective of it, the technology will not evolve accordingly. It will take a lot of good success stories, and there's plenty out there, right? They just need to enter into the spotlight, right? In my opinion, I think that this technology, especially from a movie star, a sports team, a sports collectible, I mean, you have an enormous opportunity with charity using blockchain technology and NFTs. Having people invest into a charity, give towards a charity, have that money and that ETH go towards something good. I mean, all of these are there, and they're good applications of the technology that should overshadow the black eyes like the SBFs and the FTXs and all that noise that happened there. But only time will assist with that. We're still very, very new. We're still very young. We're in the infant stages of this entire industry, and we have to kind of remind ourselves of that sometimes.
I'm going to bring us around to the wrap-up section because there's not a whole lot of Q&A is going to happen, although, Sean, like I said, you're always welcome to join. I think that we're going to be doing this next week, and we're going to be expanding this beyond, Sean, so to your knowledge, so you're aware, we're going to be doing this continuing, don't worry, but we're also going to be expanding this out onto Twitter and other channels. And so as far as the wrap up is concerned, I'll lead us off if you guys want, or you know, Michelle, you should lead us off. Ladies first. Any kind of comments? What do you see for trends? What are your thoughts around as it develops? Is this how we've been talking? Is this different than we expected? What's your general opinion on this week's news in context of what we've been talking about?
I mean, I think that we've talked about there being lots of shuffling of the deck chairs on the Titanic kind of stuff for the next, 6 months maybe. And I think there's going to be a lot of, people stepping up and being knocked down and, people running away and whatever. So there'll be a lot of that still going on. And I think people are still trying to find their feet in the fallout of what's going to happen. And as we've talked about before, there'll be other dominoes fall and, there might be another one or two that are big players and that will shake people up again. But ultimately what we need people to think about is your business, whether it's in crypto now or not, or whether it's in Web3 now or not. What is it that you can do? And what is it that the Web3 blockchain can do for your business going forward? Because we're looking at 18 months to 2-3 years from now. What is it that you want your business to, where do you want to be positioned in that time? And this is where you've got to start looking around the room now for where that's going to be and how you might do that.
That's interesting. I agree with you that things are changing. Mike, what's your thoughts on things?
I mean, this whole episode is really focused around some specifics on the way companies are approaching Web3, whether it's through Polygon, whether it's through Coca-Cola and the World Cup. We're getting there. We're inching towards that. But here's what I really think needs to happen in order for it to, kind of accelerate and expedite the entire process is that these companies need to invest into, and I hate the term but I didn't make it. They need chief metaverse officers. They need people that are dedicated to understanding the trends that are happening in the space. And that team needs to work hand in hand with both the marketing team and the business development team. And they need to formulate a strategy on how each individual organization can apply the technology to accomplish something. Whether it's building a community, generating revenue, building an audience, having a reward system, having a membership, creating a collectible, creating a marketplace, creating a product description, in some cases, creating some sort of a stock or some sort of a security. That's really up to the division and the company that they want to put forth. But I think it's time that, with the advancements of the technology, how fast things are moving, and with all these different pieces just kind of getting sprinkled into the industry, it's going to require somebody that focuses on this full time.
So I wrote a piece on LinkedIn last week about should is the most dangerous word in business, Mike. These companies should do this. I agree with you 100%. But at the end of the day, it'll be the forward-thinking ones, the long-standing ones that are building for the eternity, not the Coca-Cola's looking to make a buck. For my part, I see three themes. Number one, the sky is falling, right? We're still seeing this whole, I think, Michelle, you call it the fortune-telling phase. End of crypto. Like the end is nigh, is still going to go on for a little bit. Number two is these projects are starting to become mainstreamed now. You're starting to see a bit more companies doing it more frequently, and these are major organizations, Coca-Cola, Crypto.com. These are interesting. And I think that we're starting to see the terminology is coming into focus. This is only a one-off right now, so it's too soon to say it's a trend. But when CoinDesk renames their magazine from Layer 2 to Consensus, they're looking for a wider audience. And I think that and to be honest, so are we. So I think that's going to start to be the forward-thinking folks that will say, hey, crypto isn't just this little corner of finance anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and I think too that, if you start thinking about your business, whether you are a Coca-Cola or you're a one-man band, where do you want to be, or what can you see the potential, and just start doing it. Because what happens to Dogecoin or Twitter or, whatever Elon is doing this week or not, all of that kind of stuff, whether Sam goes to jail or not, isn't actually going to affect your business and how it can benefit from Web3 technology. And that's really what you need to start to think about. Sorry, Mike.
No, you're 100% right. And it solidifies a point we've made here time and time again, right? It is a tool. And if you treat the actual NFT or a project in an NFT as the sole benefit and the nucleus of a particular revenue stream and business model, you will fail. You need to be able to offer things that, are outside of it, but are complemented by the NFT. Again, I'll use the Unfantasy as an example. That was an entire gaming experience that was backed by an NFT project, right? Our focus wasn't the NFT. Our focus was actually creating the mechanics of the game and incorporating the NFT as a tool that allowed you to play the game. So it was a whole different construct and spin to it, but it attracted, again, I'd argue 60 or 70% of the people in the league have no clue what Web3 or crypto is.
But again, Mike, that goes back to your intent.
Correct. And that's my point, right? So if you have people that are understanding the trends in the market, and you also have that inside track and understanding what your marketing or your business development strategy and plans are for the quarter or for the year, you can easily marry the two and incorporate them accordingly. And you won't be 6 months late to launching a World Cup, project on the day that Morocco knocks out Spain.
Incredible.
Crazy.
I'm going to remind everybody, as always, nothing in this discussion is intended as investment advice or financial guidance. This is just a deep dive to understand the perspective of Web3 and how it can be applied in a practical sense to businesses large and small. So do your own damn research. Don't invest or not invest off what we say here. I want to thank everyone for joining us this week. It's been a good one. We'll be back next week, regular time. Although, Michelle, I think you'll be in a different hemisphere.
I will be. It'll be morning for me there. And I'll be ahead of you all. Ha ha.
You can have your Web3 coffee.
The toilet will swirl in the different direction, I suppose, right?
It indeed does. It's still weird seeing that here, let me tell you.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
travels as always, all right?
For the comments.
Thank you. See you
Sean,
later.
thanks. Good seeing you as well. Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.